that quantum computer, it can hack the entire Bitcoin network at one time.
We should stop innovating.
At the end of the day, that's what Bitcoin should be doing. It should be a store of value.
Money is always going to get printed. Money is always going to go into S&P 500.
Actually, we've been in a bear market for, say, a year. The prices now are almost the same as what it was at the start of this year.
MicroStrategy will be forced to sell a certain amount of Bitcoin, which I believe would most likely be the bottom of the actual bear market.
Preview.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of whatever the fuck this is. Joining us today is
Enzo.
Enzo. No, but what was your fucking social media profile?
I guess you guys can follow me at... There's so many cameras, I don't know which one to look at.
You look at this one.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me at AlphaStack1 on Twitter. But to be honest, I don't use socials much. I use Telegram, and you cannot message me on Telegram. But yeah, so today's news. Woke up this morning, checked my Telegram. I saw this guy's name, Tom Lee said the bottom is in. He thinks that now is as low as Bitcoin's going to go. It's going to go up from here.
And then it dumps. And then both Tom Lee and Saylor are liquidated.
Well, that's true, right? So, I mean, he's kind of incentivized to say this because his whole business is predicated around the idea that it's going to go up. And the more ETH goes up, the more his business pumps.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why he's calling for bottom is because we have he's essentially bought up all of the Ethereum that he wanted to, because he had like a certain not quota but a target that he wanted to
connect. He said 5%.
Yeah, 5%. How much has he? Do you know?
I think he's close now, like 3%. And he did that.
That's still far away.
I mean, he did that in like 2 months or 3 months. Like very, very quickly, he got to 3% of the supply. So impressive.
And Ethereum is still dumping like a rock, which is not that impressive. So he's already collected 3%. He needs to collect 5%. But he's already basically halfway through his ammunition, I guess you could say. And so that means that like he's essentially going to be underwater soon if he keeps on buying in the.
But the idea is that like
price keeps dumping
as you buy more. So I have it's the same thing as MicroStrategy. Right? You buy more, and when the price goes up, you use that kind of like extra liquidity to buy more, and then the price goes up, and you continue the cycle. So he's not going to run out of cash unless if Ethereum starts going down, then he will run out of cash, right? He won't be able to issue new stocks. He won't have more money to buy. So that would be a problem, right? But it's not like he's running out of money because the more ETH pumps, the more money he's going to have. The more money he has, the more ETH he can buy. But this is kind of like, for me, it's a bit worrying because say if we do go to a bear market and things start crashing, these companies...
You say if we do go into a bear market, what? So you're saying we're not in a bear market right now?
Well, okay, so actually this is a good point. So when he said the bottom is in, it makes me think that actually we've been in a bear market for, say, a year. The prices now are almost the same as what it was at the start of this year. And so that kind of means this entire year has been almost like a flat sideways movement.
And
it's
so accumulation, basically.
Yeah, and so there's an argument said that we've been in bear market for a year. If he says the bottom is in, right? I mean, I know I've talked to you a lot about this, and you've kind of been saying this for a while now, that like this is a bear market, we're in it now. And I've always been kind of like resistant on that mostly because of like legislation and technological improvements. Like these types of things have been building and improving over the past year. So in that sense, we've gained ground. Like now it's way more legal. Like for example, I saw today Polymarket is listed natively in MetaMask. So that's an improvement.
No. Well, they MetaMask created a front end for it.
Yeah, but I would say maybe 1 year ago there would be like regulatory uncertainty if you could do this. At least in the States.
I think MetaMask in general has definitely been actually developing stuff. Like for probably since I knew it, they did fucking nothing for years. And then now this past basically like 6 months, they decided to start building all these extra products on top.
Dude, their new wallet sucks. Have you tried like the new MetaMask wallet?
I mean, I use it every day. So
like the new updated one?
I guess I'm sure probably updated, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really interact or engage with the wallet itself. It's just something I'm just so
like
used
sign.
to.
Yeah, I mean,
basically it.
Personally, I use Trust Wallet. But they're all the same. You're right. So MetaMask owned by Consensus. Consensus is, it's a huge crypto company. They're just like Binance. They've got their finger in many different pots. So yeah, they've made progress. But going back to this kind of Tom Lee MicroStrategy discussion, like I think maybe you're right. I think the reason why we haven't seen these alts pump, the reason why we haven't really seen too much of an all-time high in Bitcoin, like this year we did get all-time high, but it wasn't that much higher than the start of the year. I think you're right. Maybe it's just like an accumulation year, and hopefully next year it's an actual like altcoin season type year.
But
I hope so.
That I don't think we're gonna see altcoins soon. Not anymore. No, because the whole meta, the whole thing that like drove this essentially bull market or whatever is the DATs, right? The digital asset treasuries. And you say that like we've been in a bear market for a year, but that's only Ethereum and altcoins.
Yeah.
Right? Bitcoin was at all-time high just like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So for Bitcoin, it definitely wasn't.
But this at the start of the year was about 100K, and the all-time high this year.
Yeah, so it jumped sideways and then it pumped back up and then it dumped back down and it just started crashing. So that's actually like classical Wyckoff theory. So that means that basically the second half of the year when it was just chopping sideways was just distribution from bulls to bears, and then there was that spring, like that bear trap or the bull trap, and then it came crashing down. So then if Wyckoff is correct and that whole thing is distribution from bulls to bears, then basically that point would be the start of the bear market, which was like 3 months ago. And if
So
that's true, then we still have like 9 more months to go of a bear market, which would be so much fun. So
well, I mean, it's like if we are going into a bear market, to me, is that
we are in a bear market now. We are going into a bear market.
So this is that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, okay, so then is this truly the bottom? Then is Tom Lee correct in that? Okay, this is the bottom of the bear / accumulation period, and here is only up, or is it possible that say Bitcoin will crash to say 50K and Ethereum down to like 2K or something like that? Obviously, anything is possible. I just think it's unlikely. I feel like most of the people that would have sold probably would have sold by now.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. But and then also you have to think about the fact that most of the people, or most of the price action isn't done by retail this phase. It's done by institutional players. And one of the biggest buyers that have launched this up is like MicroStrategy and Tom Lee and Bitmine and all that stuff. So
ETFs.
yeah, so exactly the DATs, the digital asset trust. So one of them is definitely MicroStrategy, right? But if MicroStrategy is forced to sell because of the new laws coming out in January, I think it's like January 15. Well, not new laws, I should say, potentially new laws coming out in January. But in January 15, regulators in the U.S. are voting on whether or not a DAT should be able to be listed on the S&P 500 or any index.
Yeah.
Or if any company is able to be listed on any index, if the bulk of their company is just holding a certain digital asset, right?
Yeah.
That's what DATs are. That's basically what MicroStrategy does, right?
Well, like ETFs too, right? So a lot of like S&P 500 wouldn't list an ETF because it's a fund. It's not a company.
No. But I mean, well, yeah, the DAT fund.
That's what I'm saying. So DATs will get lumped in with ETFs, which cannot go in these kind of like top lists.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the whole thing right now that basically like the breaking hack that Michael Saylor came out with MicroStrategy is that they buy up a bunch of coins. Now their business essentially becomes a what is it called? A proxy for Bitcoin. So then people
almost like a leverage position too.
Yeah, almost like a leverage position where people start buying up MicroStrategy in order to get exposure to Bitcoin. But then it made the market cap so big that it was allowed to be listed on the S&P 500, which means that all of these old people and like mom and dad's fucking retirement funds and blah blah blah, when they're all investing into the S&P 500, it's also going to funnel some money into MicroStrategy, right? And then as the price goes up, they would just loan out more money, buy more Bitcoin, pushing the price up even higher, basically just leveraging it upwards. So that's like the cycle that they did. But MicroStrategy is not doing anything other than just buying and holding Bitcoin, right? So it creates this sort of bubble cycle threat. If they allow that into the S&P 500, then the bull market just keeps going, party's on, right? But if it's not allowed in the S&P 500, then MicroStrategy will be forced to sell a certain amount of Bitcoin, which I believe would most likely be the bottom of the actual bear market.
Right now, so MicroStrategy, they have two things they have to cover. Right? What they call the dividends. So the holders, they have to pay holders, right? And also they have like leverage, debt accumulation. So they essentially issued stock to buy Bitcoin. They also issued debt to buy Bitcoin. The debt they have to pay off, and
But that's not until like 2027. I think there's time.
So that's what I'm saying. So, but both of these actually. So they have enough cash reserves to pay off the dividends for it's like 1.7 years, and so at least for 1.7 years they don't have to sell Bitcoin, and also the debt they have enough to cover the debt as well.
No. But I believe that there's certain holdings from the S&P 500 that if the regulation comes out and says, oh, MicroStrategy cannot be on the S&P 500 and it gets delisted, then I believe that will force not necessarily MicroStrategy to sell, but whatever I guess like whatever holdings from the S&P or something like that would be forced to liquidate.
Maybe. I mean, the whole premise on MicroStrategy is that they have this MNAV thing, right? So if it's over MNAV of 1, then they can issue more stock to buy more Bitcoin. If they drop out of the S&P 500, their token value or their stock value is going to crash, and so they're not going to be this MNAV plus 1, so they can't issue more stock to get more Bitcoin, and this whole cycle breaks.
Well, the stock's already down. It's already selling at a discount to Bitcoin. So if people wanted to get Bitcoin exposure, it would actually behoove them to buy into MicroStrategy, as they would have a much steeper discount. I think it's like 20%. It's a pretty fucking big discount right now.
That's the thing. It's like a leverage position. It goes down faster than Bitcoin. It goes up faster than Bitcoin as well. So if Bitcoin starts pumping, actually MicroStrategy pumps more than Bitcoin. So it's a leverage position essentially. But for, like you said, for like moms and pops that want exposure to Bitcoin, but they don't want to hold, they don't want to wait for 10 years.
But I mean, we saw something very similar to Grayscale Digital Asset Trust.
Yeah, no, I don't really know what you're talking about.
GBTC or something like that, right? So in the last bear market, Bitcoin was being sold at a massive discount. I think it was all the way up to like 50% discount on Grayscale than it was on Bitcoin. So if we see you see the exact same thing happening from back then to now. And we'll most likely see it so long as the S&P 500 rule comes in and says, oh, MicroStrategy is not allowed in the S&P, then I think we'll see a very similar price action where the MicroStrategy will be 50% lower than Bitcoin during the bottom of the bear market. And then people will start buying into that in order to arbitrage the price back up, stuff like that.
The question is like, okay, if this happens, does this have a major impact on the Bitcoin price? And there's no argument said that it could. Like, they own 5% of the supply, and if MicroStrategy has to start selling, then perhaps. But in my opinion, it's more of like a sentiment thing. Like, if MicroStrategy goes under, it's more of like people feel shitty, and so they're sell Bitcoin because of that. I don't necessarily think that MicroStrategy dropping out of the S&P 500 would actually create the Bitcoin value to go down, or would have like a correlation.
I think so, because if Bitcoin is being brought up because of this, then why would people, you know what I'm saying? Like, all the institutions that were coming in because they saw the cycle that Saylor made, which I've seen multiple like YouTube videos on and everything, and Instagram videos. If that whole plan and plot gets destroyed, then all of those people that came to buy in because of that infinite money glitch, they're going to either sell, or they're going to be disinterested, or they're going to go invest in AI or some other shit.
People saw MicroStrategy, they were interested, so they bought true Bitcoin, or they bought MicroStrategy because they saw MicroStrategy? Okay.
Both. I mean, if you go just research or just YouTube MicroStrategy infinite money glitch, you'll see a bunch of different videos that say, oh, look, this is the strategy that Saylor did, and it's never been done before, and this is why it's so interesting, and blah, blah, blah. And it talks about how Bitcoin's going to go to infinity simply because he keeps buying and he did this DAT thing, right? And then you have a bunch of other companies like AVAX and excuse me, what were the other ones? Like AVAX, I believe, like most likely Mantle and Binance and what were the other ones? I think Hyperliquid even has a DAT.
DATs, gotcha.
DATs, yeah.
There's a lot of them now.
But if their whole thing, the whole strategy for that was just raise money, and use leverage just to get big enough to get onto the S&P, so that they can also start getting mom and pop's money to pump up the price. But if that gets removed, then now you're going to lose all of these institutional players that were coming in, pumping up the price specifically to like do this infinite money glitch. And then we're going to see basically control go back down to retail, but retail's fucking broke. They're not the main drivers of this bull market. So maybe the next cycle will actually have a altcoin cycle.
We'll still have ETFs though. I mean, it's the DATs that are a problem. ETFs, I've always, like, for example, I think actually right now, BlackRock, the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, I think they are the largest holder of Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
like outside of like Satoshi, right? And so this doesn't affect them at all. So the ETF still exists.
But people were buying into that. Institutional players are buying into that ETF. Retail people were buying into that ETF and Bitcoin as well, specifically because they believe that the money from the S&P 500 would come in and flow and prop all of the prices up.
Yes,
because money is always going to get printed. Money is always going to go into S&P 500, and then if MicroStrategy or any of these other DATs got just a sliver of that, it would also money would just continuously flow to it.
Yeah.
But right now, if that gets removed, then we won't see that infinite money glitch, and we will rely on retail to pump it up. Retail and like some institutional players as well, but I think that they will lose interest in that and just go buy AI or equity, regular stocks, like they have been right now.
Well, again, I think the major difference between these two is that if you have an ETF, it's directly tied to the Bitcoin price. How much Bitcoin do they have means how much ETF can they sell. Whereas MicroStrategy, they're not necessarily selling direct Bitcoin. They're selling their stock, which is like a proxy to Bitcoin, right? And so I think it is a problem, right? So a lot of these companies, for example, MicroStrategy being the top one, they have a lot of Bitcoin on their balance, and if they're in a financial bind, they're gonna have to find cash somehow. If they have this, stacks of Bitcoin, they're probably gonna start selling Bitcoin, which could cause like an avalanche. But I also think that this is why the ETF structure exists in the first place, is to allow exposure to assets like gold and to oil and Bitcoin in this situation. So I just hope that, I guess what I'm saying is I hope that the DATs cycle into something more traditional like an ETF, because ETF structure is way more time tested than a DAT.
Okay. So let me switch the subject a little bit, right? If the regulators come out and say, okay, you know what, DATs are not allowed on the S&P 500 anymore. MicroStrategy is no longer listed on the S&P 500, so there's nothing to pump the price of MicroStrategy. And if the price of MicroStrategy doesn't pump or recover, then it cannot loan more money to buy more spot Bitcoin. You get what I'm saying? So that basically, so we lose that big buying pressure from MicroStrategy and most likely all the other altcoins that were trying to do the same. So if that does happen, and then the performance of Bitcoin, maybe it recovers and it's like, man, like it does all right, but AI is booming, stocks are booming. Do you not think that retail and institutional players would pivot their attention more towards something that's a lot more up and coming like AI than they would crypto, which is largely...
They would sell their MicroStrategy, buy AI stock.
Yeah, I mean, not just sell your MicroStrategy and buy AI stock, but just specifically, they would just go and buy AI stock and not buy crypto, because crypto now is like not really that.
These companies, they already have a lot of crypto. So say Bitcoin goes to 150K, all these DATs, they're going to be chilling for a long time. And so if Bitcoin pumps in January, goes to 150K, these questions won't even matter anymore. If they get delisted from the S&P 500.
But look how much money is required to pump it to 150K. If we don't have the backing of basically MicroStrategy or the S&P 500, then how the hell are we gonna get to 150K when we couldn't even break 100K just with retail? So basically, if institutional buy power goes away, how are we ever gonna get there?
Well, again, we still have institutional buy power in the form of ETFs, but not in form of these leverage like tools, which are DATs. So I think that we'll still have institutional players buying. Like if you're an asset manager managing like a portfolio, you're still going to keep a chunk of your portfolio in crypto. Like I saw this morning, that JP Morgan recommended a 3% exposure. And right now they're probably doing this in MicroStrategy, because MicroStrategy is in the S&P 500. But they can just pivot towards holding in something like an ETF, like a BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. But that's still institutional buy, is what I'm saying.
But people don't want to buy, institutions included. Retail, nobody wants to buy when it's cheap. They always want to FOMO in and buy when
it's exciting.
Yeah, when it's exciting, exactly. So what I think in order for us to get exciting, Bitcoin's going to have to go all the way back up to like 110K, 120K. And the chances of that happening, if DATs are off, in my opinion, is going to be very, very low. What I think might happen, this is like the bearish scenario, the worst scenario. If you look at the price history of gold, when gold pumped up to like the previous all-time high, and then it like crashed, and it went on to like a 7-year bear market where it just consolidated sideways, and then finally pumped up, and now we're seeing it at all-time highs again. If you look at that, I think that we may have that sort of similar period where we just kind of go sideways.
I mean, starting now.
Starting now,
Or starting
exactly.
a couple months ago.
Well, I mean, I think that we'll go down, maybe to like 60K or something like that, and then back up maybe to like 90K, and then back down to like 60K, and then back up.
When you say that,
that would be terrible.
Like, at the end of the day, that's what Bitcoin should be doing. It should be a store of value. Right now, we're trading it like an asset that has what's the word? It's a speculation tool, right? We're hoping that we buy now, sell higher later. But like gold, not most people that buy gold, of course, they're trying to make more money over time. But in general, they just don't want to lose their money, and that's what Bitcoin was made for. It was to hold the value over time. And so I say this because
I'm fucking terrible at doing it.
well, that's what I was about to say. It's like right now it's not doing that. It's even if it doubled to 200K, it's still not necessarily doing what it should be doing. It should not be doubling from 100K to 200K because that's a huge risk. It's going to crash again.
No. But that problem resolves on its own when the market cap gets big enough.
Yeah, it starts to stabilize.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, is this the point where it stabilizes, or does it still have room for growth? Because it is a tool. Like, if there is, say, like a recession or something, the idea is that Bitcoin is not affected by inflation and that it would stay somewhat stable in the same way the gold stays somewhat stable. There's also this other conversation about like other assets like Ethereum DATs. They have just staking rewards, which, to be honest, in my own opinion, it's all kind of like net zero anyways, like because they're minting tokens and also they're giving out tokens
and
right?
stuff.
And so it ends up being kind of like net zero. I don't think if you had a giant stack of Ethereum held of 10 years, you may make a small amount of money, but I think in general, like that money's coming from price appreciation, not from the actual staking itself. But anyways, the point is Bitcoin doesn't have that, whereas Ethereum does. So there is some argument to be said that, like, I forgot the name of it. It was called like the Infinite Machine or something like that. This is essentially a DAT that does this, and that's what their whole premise is. Like, we're not just buying and holding; we're actually staking as well. So we get this double kind of infinite money glitch, plus we get staking rewards. Whereas Bitcoin doesn't have that. We talked about it in the last podcast, but I think my major concern. So I have two major concerns about Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin. One is the DATs, and we kind of just discussed that. And the other one is this quantum risk, because I do think that this is something that's coming very soon. Give it 2 more years, and we're going to have a solution for it. Not we, but the Bitcoin team is going to have a solution for it. But I bring this up now. I bring this up now because, like, yeah, what is that? How does that affect ETFs and DATs? Like, if Bitcoin was immediately just out of nowhere able to be hacked, then what happens to the price of the ETFs?
Well, what about that? What if? I mean, you're probably more caught up with me on all of that quantum computing and like hacking stuff or whatever. But Vitalik just said, that there's a very real risk that it's going to get hacked. And I was actually just watching the Joe Rogan podcast with what's his name, the NVIDIA.
Jensen Huang.
Yeah. It was just
Does he talk about quantum in that too?
Well, they were talking about, basically quantum computing coming out, and like one of the first and biggest risks is the destruction of all current cryptographic security measures and stuff like that. And then like quantum computing is going to be able to, and this is something that they're working on right now, but quantum computing is going to be able to create new algorithms that will protect from quantum computing, basically using, fire to protect fire, right?
Yeah.
But
the risk.
But they haven't made that yet. And then like, is that even going to be able to be incorporated with Bitcoin, right? Like
the risk of Bitcoin is like, so if someone has a quantum computer out there, I would say, I think we talked about this, but I think Google's the most likely candidate to be the first one that's able to do this.
More than a government?
Well, I mean, the government could probably buy and try to make their own quantum computer, but these quantum computers are designed by Google. So by default, they're going to have it first. It doesn't matter who has it first, but the point is like when that's possible, that quantum computer is doing one thing at a time. It's not like it can hack the entire Bitcoin network at one time. It would be hacking Satoshi's wallet. And when it's done with that, it moves to the next one, right? It's not that just because there's a quantum computer means all of Bitcoin's at risk. It's specific wallet by wallet. And so, if you have a tiny little Bitcoin stack somewhere, like there's no risk for you. There's risk of like people getting worried and selling Bitcoin so that the price goes down. But that is important because you also have to understand that quantum computing is not just hacking Bitcoin. It's literally can hack any computer. So it can hack like the USA passport database.
Well, it would destroy SHA-256, and
yes,
but those are just computational.
So SHA-256 and all these algorithms, that's what banks use. That's what governments use to secure their own stuff.
Yeah, but what about what are the new algorithms that are going to come out for?
There are, I forgot the name of them. There's several. There are quantum resistant algorithms.
Oh, okay. There's already.
Oh yeah, there's several. So I was talking to my friend about this. The problem is not that Bitcoin. There's already solutions in place. There's, I think, three major competitors. I forgot the names. They're
Zcash.
no. There are different types of like encryption mechanisms. But it's not that we don't have the solution, it's that it's really hard to implement it. Like specifically on Bitcoin, we haven't had any major hard forks like this. And so to get the entire community, since there's three options, if there's one option, it'd be much easier. It'd be like, here's one option, let's do it. But since there's three, so you have to there's pros and cons to each of these as well, right? And so you have to get the entire community together, agree upon one, and implement it by a certain time.
It'd be another big block debate.
Exactly.
Like in 2017.
Because there'll be like a fracture, right? So this is the problem. Whereas Ethereum actually has a better shot at doing this. They can do it much, much faster, much more efficiently because because every year they have these different hard forks. Like one, Fusaka just happened, right?
Yeah. What is it? Do you know what that update's about?
So Fusaka is two things. One is essentially helping the L2s. So, well, not helping, but it's, there's like a governor. Essentially, the speed that Base and all these L2s were using was artificially suppressed by the Ethereum Foundation as more of like a test. So essentially for the past couple months / year, layer 2s have been doing the whole sharding thing that's been working really well. And so essentially Fusaka, what that does is it raises that limit like 10x's it, which means the price to use a thing like Base will also decrease in reverse. Right? It's going to be 10 times cheaper and 10 times faster. And this is not just Base, it's all layer 2s. So that's one of them. And this is better for Ethereum because also it brings more money to the system. Like the more L2s using their system, the more money that Ethereum makes. And that 100% of that gets burned, which is also cool. So the more L2s use Ethereum, the more they roll up into Ethereum, the more Ethereum gets burned, which is better for, the base asset. The other one was...
So wait. So before we go on to the other one, does that automatically make like the fees way cheaper than like Solana? And
it makes it more competitive. I think this idea that like playing the numbers game, trying to beat on numbers, I think doesn't make sense because you can always push it a little bit farther. I don't know the actual numbers. I would assume Solana is probably still cheaper and faster, but it's much more like after sub millisecond. Who cares? Like if you're talking about like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction versus like one more fraction on top of that, it's next to nothing anyways. Same thing with the time.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that the like high frequency traders that are constantly sending transactions left, right, rebalancing, all that stuff, like they care, right? If we were at an individual retail level, like no, we won't really care that much if we spend 1 penny versus a tenth of a penny,
exactly,
right? But and I say that specifically because like Solana, when I used it, it was like a penny, right? It was charging me, but Based when I used it, it was like a tenth of a penny.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that was because Solana has tons more volume in terms of like transactions and stuff going on.
You saying that Solana was more expensive than Base?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so Base would be even cheaper.
No. But Base, I'm sure, was cheaper specifically because it didn't have as much transactions going on as Solana.
Probably, yeah.
Right. So, but like at an individual level, like I didn't care if it was a tenth of a cent or a cent. A penny for those of you that are not burgers, but the reason why it's like super important is still because if you think about it from like a infrastructure level, right? Like all the Visa transactions, for example, it needs something that's super fast and cheap because if you have as many transactions as Visa has going on, then it would just make a lot of sense to go with that one. With something like Base or whatever the case may be.
So again, even if we're discussing like, okay, can I beat Solana? Even at this new rate, it's like an artificial limit that the Ethereum Foundation has put in place to essentially protect the system, make sure everything is able to work. And so theoretically, they could just continue opening that up as much as they want. And so at a certain point, it will be able to surpass Solana because it's just a number they're implementing. They're like, we're going to set it at this number, and also the cool thing about this is they can, the Fusaka implementation, it actually is like happening automatically. So I think it actually started like a couple of days ago, and then say 1 month later, if everything's successful, it will automatically kind of turn it up a little bit and automatically turn it up a bit. And so this kind of like, it's going to be a gradual increase or a gradual decrease in cost on these L2s. And that's all through one hard fork. So yeah, that was Fusaka. The other one was maybe this is related. It's like called blob space. So essentially, it's another way for Ethereum to make money. It's like data availability on chain. And so now it's fucking tree. I told you.
It is distracting. You're right.
Yeah, so there's two of these things. But going back to what we're discussing, it's like Ethereum has made this culture of continuous technological improvements. And so in terms of quantum resistant, again, there's already algorithms out there that are quantum or hashing algorithms that are quantum resistant. And so it's just a matter of like for Ethereum, for them to kind of coalesce around a single one and then implement it. And this can happen really quickly. And also it can happen retroactively. Like it will apply to maybe all the old wallets. Whereas Bitcoin, it wouldn't work that way. Something like Satoshi's wallet, unless someone actually moves it to a new, more quantum resistant wallet.
Well, I think that's what we were talking about last episode, right? Where it's like, okay, we should do some sort of or eventually there's going to have to be some sort of decision made on whether they hard fork and kick those coins out of the network or they keep them there and just do like a Ethereum Classic sort of move. But you're right. Bitcoin doesn't really get that many upgrades. I mean, and I'm not a dev, so I don't really keep up with the developer network, right? But if Ethereum is more used to having these upgrades like continuously, then I think that it would be easier for them to be more adaptable.
Yeah.
Whereas the Bitcoin community, I guess, it would be a lot more difficult to actually get them to move or agree on one certain update, specifically just because they don't even have that choice usually, right? Like they don't even think about that.
So one more thing I want to cycle back on is that, like, the thing is, like, I don't see banks around the world being able to implement these things faster than even say the Bitcoin community. I feel like Bitcoin community is very aware of this threat and they already have proposals in place to fix it. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be hard and tricky. Maybe it'll fracture the community. But I'm more worried about my bank accounts and old like credit cards and shit like that.
Oh,
like,
you mean with the quantum computing?
Yeah, like those things they're more at risk than say the Bitcoin network. Bitcoin network is like each wallet individually is at risk. But if someone can hack into say Visa's centralized database, like that's even more of a worry for me than these other assets.
All right, so let's take that, circle it back with the AI, and then put a doomsday scenario. If AI what is that called when it like gains
singularity?
The singularity event happens and it gains consciousness.
Oh, AGI,
and it gains control over a quantum computer and decides to just fuck up Bitcoin and our financial networks as we know it right now. Like,
well, I mean, you brought up as well though, like, well, one of the amazing, beautiful things about cryptography is that if you want to multiply the security, you add a single value. And so we talked about this like before in terms of like making a vanity wallet or cracking a wallet. Each number you add multiplies exponentially, right? But this is also a good thing because, SHA-256 actually refers to like this, essentially the strength of the encryption.
Yeah, the keys or whatever, or the letter, or whatever.
The digits, right? Yeah. So my point is you could have a SHA-2556 or whatever, and that adds exponentially more difficulty.
Yeah, but that would still be cracked by a quantum computer.
It would add more time. It would take more effort, essentially.
Another second, maybe.
Well, again, it's not so that it would be a second if it's a linear, but it's a multiplication thing, and so it's like essentially adding one digit multiplies the entire amount by that single digit, and so it would add a significant amount of overhead. The problem is then it's a game of catch up. It's like as quantum computers get better, then they have to add more numbers and add more numbers. It's much better to have an encryption that cannot be hacked by quantum systems.
Well, how much energy does a quantum computer take? Do you know?
A lot. I mean, have you seen the pictures of these huge things?
I could have sworn like a quantum computer was like this like tiny little.
No, it was so.
Like qubits or like
show a picture, but it's like this giant fucking thing where I'll show you on my phone.
Sure.
Yeah. So let me just because they're these huge things, and a lot of it's happening through fiber optic cables. So like Google quantum computer, and so they're huge. What you're talking about is actually like right at the very bottom. See, this is a quantum computer, fucking massive, but it all kind of comes to a point, and that point is where the qubits are.
Almost as big as my dick.
Which also comes to a point at the end.
Stupid. Yeah, this is funky, dude. It looks like some fucking like.
But so you see how it's all kind of like going down? That's because right at the bottom is actually where these qubits are, the actual quantum bits, and it's essentially like.
So that's what I've seen.
And again, each level is multiplying and multiplying. That's why there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, like this thing right here. This is what.
Yeah, so that's at the very, very bottom of the stack. All these lines here is what that computer is pushing and combining.
Gotcha.
I mean, speaking realistically, even the best quantum computer in the world, which is Google's Willow, it's still not even close to being able to do these things.
Well, I mean, I believe they came out like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, where it said that they can already crack SHA-64.
Yeah.
Or 60 something.
Yeah. So I was gonna say it's inevitable that this will happen. It will happen eventually. And so if they have one that's able to crack something like a 64 bit encryption, well then give it like another 6 months and maybe they can do 256.
Yeah, that's the concern, right? Yeah. Because I was like even listening to the Joe Rogan podcast episode thing. The founder of NVIDIA, I always forget his name.
Jensen Huang. Yeah.
What?
Jensen Huang.
Yeah, Huang. The Huang's the shit that fucking confuses me. But anyways, Jensen said that in the last 2 years they've already like 10x the improvement and performance of AI. 10 times in just 2 years. So that if the same thing could happen with quantum computers, then that means in 2 years it would be able to crack SHA-600, whatever the fuck, right? So in just a fraction of that, it should be able to crack Bitcoin. And that's the very big concern.
The older wallets. So we have to be careful when we say this because this only necessarily it can over say 10 years it will apply to more and more wallets. But Bitcoin, the very, very old wallets like Satoshi's wallet, right? They had like one layer of encryption essentially. And over time we've added more and more layers, right? Like you know how there's different Bitcoin kind of prefixes?
Like one was like SegWit and all that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So each of these was adding a new kind of layer of difficulty. So it's not that quantum computers can't crack these newer wallets. It's that it's much, much, much harder. Again, it's like multiplication. It's multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. And so the like if I made a wallet today, it's highly unlikely that a quantum computer 5 years would hack that one. Maybe 50 years it's possible, depending on the technology. But the point being,
50 years is a lot.
It is. But I mean, one of the beautiful things about Bitcoin is that these are all like discussions, but at the end of the day, it's like they could just update the network and fix all these problems. Whereas like something like the US dollar, it's not that easy. You can't just update the US dollar. If I have a paper dollar in my pocket, then it's paper dollar, right? Whereas like one of the good things about crypto is that these things are dynamic. You can update it. It's more of like a tradition or a religion that we're not doing it. But the technologies, you can update it to whatever you want it to be, you know?
Well, I mean, try to get all those people to agree on the same thing. That's the
hard part, but it's not that it can't be done, right? So it's like what I'm saying is like the fact that we can even do this is a good thing. Whereas like other systems, it may not be that easy. It's just updating the code. It's like maybe there is no code to update. It's like you're fucked essentially, you know. But like if I can start making gold, then gold has no value.
Yeah, I mean actually they can, but it takes like too much energy and power to do that. But so what's his face will eventually be fucked. I fucking hate the guy. Peter Schiff, right? He's eventually gonna be.
I don't know who that is.
You know who Peter Schiff is? No. He's like the gold bug. That like he was like a big KOL when gold was pumping like fucking
Gold is interesting
100 years ago or something, and he's still alive, and he's like, oh yeah, gold is #1. He fucking shits on Bitcoin all the time, and even his own son shits on him because he's such a gold bug.
I have nothing against gold. I think one of the things really interesting about gold is that the price is pretty consistent, and this is because
it used to be. Now it's actually pumping. Because people like to buy when things are going up.
Well, I think it's more that the dollar value is going down. And so
I think it's both. But because dollar value has just been going sideways right now and it's pumping like crazy still. But
like like Bitcoin has this emission schedule where like, if I mine a block, I get Bitcoin rewards. Like the reason why dollar has been consistent is because it's the availability of gold in the Earth's crust has a very constant rate. It's very hard to find. And what's really interesting is like the more uses we have for it, the digger we can the digger we deep. The deeper we dig. And so these things have actually balanced over time. So the prices stayed fairly consistent, say like 3,000 years ago to today. The value of the gold is actually quite similar. And this is because like
1,000 years ago to today, no, the value has gone up way higher.
Again, if you talk about the US dollar value, sure. But like say like if I had one flake of gold, how much can I get with that one flake of gold, right? Say if this gold is equal to this cup. It was similar now as it was to then because the availability in the Earth's crust is actually stable.
I mean, before you could get some fucking chickens with some gold, but now if you get a fucking bar of gold, you get a car. I think it's a little bit different.
Another cool thing is the kilo of gold. the cost of that is about $125. So for a brief moment in time, one Bitcoin was about equal to 1 kilo of gold, which I thought was really cool.
$125,000.
Yeah, $1,000 for one brick of gold.
Yeah, I was gonna say $125, bro.
Oh yeah, that's sorry,
yeah, it's gold. But circling back though, to the conversation we were having before the whole gold shit came up. Because I think that this is something that should be interested in more in people's minds because it is such a big risk that and such a big problem that may not have the spotlight that it should have right now.
Talking about quantum, right?
Yeah, quantum, the hacking, all that stuff, and also Satoshi's wallet, all that stuff. So like basically the adaptability of Bitcoin. Right? I think that that's such a big problem that more people should be talking about, and we're just now starting to see like the small early glimpses of what will, I think, very soon within the next 6 months, like you said, become a very big political sort of debate and discussion within the community because it will have to hard fork. It will have to update.
This is why Vitalik brought it up for Ethereum because he's noticed this too. Like, hey guys, this is coming. We're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, like I said, Bitcoin and Ethereum, all cryptocurrencies are updatable. You can change the code. And so it's just a matter of enough people complaining about this until that code changes. How the world reacts to that. So my worry is, you're right that more people should know about it, but also I think that people are over worried about it. Like for me, it's more of like, it's like here's the to-do list. And it's one of the things on the to-do list. And it's very high up on the list. We should do it as fast as possible. But to me, it doesn't necessarily pose an existential threat because when quantum computers are commonplace and all world governments have them, I'm more worried about everything else than Bitcoin and gold, or Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like those are the things that I feel like, okay, we can update those and fix it. I'm worried about everything else. Like, because if I can buy a quantum computer, then I can hack anything essentially, right? So that my worry is not just like, I think people should be more aware of it, but also I worry that if we talk about it too much and people hear about it too much, they're gonna get like this FUD and get really scared and start selling Bitcoin. But I feel
no. But I think that that's already gonna happen, right? So like, even right now with all of the sell pressure and all that stuff, even when Vitalik came out and said that, there's an actual threat with quantum computing that's gonna hack it, blah blah blah. I think that one of the big reasons why a bunch of institutional players are selling, and also most likely retail, whales, all that other stuff, is they're hedging against this, unknown market where it's heading into. Because especially since nobody has updated or changed it, I think that the sooner that they update it and change it, the sooner that they actually make it adapt to future risk, the sooner we'll get the buy pressure back from institutional players because they'll feel secure in their investment. You said, Bitcoin is a store of value, right? But if that fucking store of value is facing threat in the next 6 months to 12 months, 6 to 12 months, then why the fuck would you buy it? That's a terrible store of value.
But my rebuttal to that is like, if Bitcoin is a risk, so is Google. And so
but we have no control. We can't buy Google.
But Google, I guess Google could be hacked just as easy as Satoshi's wallet could be hacked. And so my point being is like, if people are scared about the quantum risk to Bitcoin, they should be scared about quantum risk to everything.
But look, but Google has a whole staff of engineers. It's centralized, so it's a lot easier for Google to go out, get a bunch of security experts, and say, "Hey, just protect our shit and update our shit." Bitcoin and Ethereum, most of the actual like decentralized networks is not that easy. It's not like someone just comes out and said, "Hey, you know what? You 2, you 3, you 5, whatever. You're in charge of security. Make sure it gets updated." That doesn't happen.
Ethereum has the Ethereum Foundation, so it's still decentralized. They still get to vote, but in general, like, they tend to coalesce around like the best possible action. Whereas the problem with Bitcoin is like, there is no strong core team. Like, there's core Bitcoin developers, but those aren't necessarily ones that have control over the network. It's the miners. The miners.
And then the miners most likely have very, technically savvy individuals running the farm and the mine. But who's the head honcho that's actually in charge of it? It's most likely someone who's not a dev person. It's most likely, Wall Street money.
These guys will probably have to buy new rigs if we update the equations to be quantum resistant. Like right now, the ASICs are made to crack SHA-256. If they have to do a different algorithm, they're going to buy new rigs, and it's going to be expensive for them.
Exactly. So now it becomes a problem of politics, right? Where people don't want to update specifically because that puts them out of business. So then Bitcoin will be stuck between a rock and a hard place, where the people that are protecting it are essentially sabotaging it, specifically because if they do protect it, it could be suicide, financial suicide. So then that to me is a very big risk and pretty much like a fundamental flaw in Bitcoin itself.
Well, again, it's like even 5 years from now, when quantum computers are more available, I still don't necessarily think it puts my own personal money at risk. Someone would have to target my wallet specifically and dedicate that resource towards that. I mean, given enough time, perhaps they might. But
we're not talking about your, but your money would be fucking useless if someone hacks Satoshi's wallet or a bunch of other wallets and just starts dumping.
I mean, the major one here is Satoshi wallet because he's, like I said, the biggest single holder.
In general, if quantum computing comes out and starts hacking wallets, everyone is going to sell. So your money, your quote unquote money.
Well, as soon as it, so this is the thing is like as soon as it, if Satoshi's money, if Satoshi's Bitcoin moved to a different wallet tomorrow, then this discussion will be had tomorrow. They'll be like, it happened, let's do it now, right? And so Bitcoin's going to take a huge hit. But I also think that when this event actually happens, I think the response will be quite quick. Once people realize, like, okay, we have to do something now, I think the Bitcoin Core community would get together and would implement something within a short amount of time.
But if they implement something, right? Like let's take it back to the miner's perspective. If Satoshi starts getting hacked or something, and all the mining industry is so competitive that they're all loaning money to buy all of these rigs so that they can get enough market share or whatever of the mining power of the hash rate. If they're leveraged to the tips and essentially not profitable or like don't have enough float to be able to sell all of these rigs, buy up a new, like upgrade their system from ASIC to whatever,
like a new version of ASIC,
to whatever it is, then none of them are going to vote to do that because
there'll be a split, right? The people that have the money to have these new computers would buy the new computers and vote for this new.
Yeah, but do you think that they'll have 51% voting rights? Most likely not.
I mean, that would imply that if there's a split, you don't necessarily need 51 anymore. It'd be like, this is the old one that's not quantum resistant. This is the new one that is quantum resistant. Slowly over time, you would move from one to the other.
But then let's say the new one that is quantum resistant, right? That becomes dominated by like a few miners. Then what happened to the whole decentralization aspect?
I mean, you would hope that over time, these things tend to balance out, right? Yeah, it would have its own kind of what's it called, anti-fragile. Have you read the book Anti-Fragile?
No.
That seems really, really good. The idea being like there's fragile things that it's caught a drop and it breaks. There's like robust things, which is like wood will not break. They can't move very well. And anti-fragile is the idea like a muscle. The more I use it, the more it tears. The more it tears, the stronger it gets. Well, that's actually another thing on our to-do list. So CZ, fucking swole.
Oh yeah, the fucking TRT. No man, but hold on, CZ can fucking suck a dick and wait. Okay, we
what are we talking about?
I wanted to talk about this. I think it's a fundamental risk, and I didn't even realize that until our discussion right now. But if the owners of the mining firms vote not to upgrade because they are financially cannot survive it.
Yeah, it would fracture like Bitcoin Cash. The same thing's going to happen. There's going to be a group of people that cannot do it financially.
It would be a hard fork, right? But then dive into that a little bit deeper. The ones that can handle it will essentially dominate and kind of have this cabal centralized power over Bitcoin's mining.
There's already there's already a cabal, right? What's going to happen is you say you're going to fracture. The people that have the money will get these new quantum resistant ASICs, and they'll be good. In order for one person to have 51%, that means they have to be, majority holder over the rest of the group. I would assume it's going to be somewhat balanced, maybe like 5 players. Each one has 20%. In this situation, it's still pretty good. I mean, obviously, we don't even want that. We want much more decentralized, but I don't think it will be in a situation where it's like one person owns half of the pool.
No, I don't think it'll be one, but I think it'll be like cabal.
It'll be a cabal where it's like together they can control the network. But it's already kind of the case now.
But then even if I think it's a little bit more because now it's like cabals for like different cabals and like different.
Well, there's like the China cabal and the American cabal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that becomes a lot more decentralized because it's mostly split by region and stuff like that. But if the mining pool gets significantly smaller to protect it, and majority of the miners get wiped out because of this this hard fork that is inevitable that they have to and essentially implement or just suffer the attacks from quantum computing, the security risk, then that is, I mean, that would take years, I think, for Bitcoin to recover from. So I'm just playing the bear, right? I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
But again, I think this is why it's so important. I keep bringing up this idea where it's like not just Bitcoin, because in this situation we're discussing, it's not just Bitcoin that's at risk. It's literally everything run by computer on the entire Earth.
I understand, but not everything run by computer on the entire Earth works off of a decentralized mining ecosystem thing that people spend tons and tons of money on. And if I guess it wouldn't matter if the ASICs could be repurposed to do the new algorithm.
Unlikely.
Yeah, highly unlikely, right? Because if it takes so long just to crack SHA-256 or to solve, SHA-256, then I mean, it would essentially lose all of its mining power.
Yeah, well, if you have a quantum miner, then the quantum miner is going to be so much stronger than all the others that your old ASICs won't be applicable. I want to talk about one more time though, because like in this situation, we're talking about Bitcoin losing market cap value. I think this is going to be happening across the board to almost all things on Earth, and so it would probably lead to like some sort of recession. So that's one thing. It's like I'm not so concerned about it because at the same time that we're talking about like the new Bitcoiners moving to a new system and the fracturing is also going to be happening in every area of the economy, and so not that that's a good thing, but it won't be isolated to just Bitcoin. I think everything will be going through this kind of transition point. And so I think it's a scary time. But also, the thing to also remember is like, if we have quantum computers, it's not just bad stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, though. Like, do you think that quantum computers would... Also, by the way, I saw a YouTube video on quantum computers and everything, and there's not that much that you can do with it. There's not
specific
that many
applications.
Yeah, and one of the things is cryptography cracking, right? Yeah. So you say that everything's going to be at risk, but I don't think is that much.
Anything that's secure digitally,
I don't think the internet will go down because of quantum computing, but I think security will.
For example, like if they're like Amazon, right? They, as a website, they're at risk because they manage passwords, they manage credit cards, they manage accounts. These types of things will be at risk. And it's not just Amazon, it's literally every website ever made, right? And there's also bank accounts. Banks have computers, they have accounts, they have all this. That's all at risk. And so all of this stuff becomes at risk. All of it happens almost in a moment. As soon as that first computer is made, everything all at once is at a risk at that moment, right? And so yes, Bitcoin's gonna have to deal with this. Of course, sooner the better. If they can do it now, then there's no risk, right? That's the best case scenario. But as we've discussed, people will lose their business if this happens, and so they're going to push back against it.
Do you think we should stop innovating? Stop trying to hit the next level because it's just too risky at times. Like at some point we're gonna fucking get too technologically advanced that is actually going to screw us over and wipe out mankind, like the Singularity event or some crazy shit.
I mean, everything has an equal balance of pros and cons. And so AI is a good example of this, where AI is going to, my belief is AI will crack longevity. Give it 100 years and all humans will live past 200.
I don't have 100 years.
Okay, here's the other thing. I think within our lifetimes, we're lucky to be born now because as long as no dramatic event stops the progress of AI, the technology will be available to essentially extend our lifespans. To how long, I don't know. At least, say, 200, right? And that's going to be within our lifespan. But my point being is like, okay, so humans can essentially live forever now, which is an amazing thing. We've been striving towards that for, not forever, but you know what I mean? The other side is like, okay, well then now these horrific bioweapons are also available, right? By quantum computer or with AI plus quantum computers, like computing what is the absolutely most deadly disease. Both these things come out at the exact same time. The ability to essentially live forever and the ability to kill everyone immediately. These come out at the same time. And so it's terrifying, right? How do you keep this balance? But I don't know, man. You can't get the pros without the cons. And I think that it's inevitable. Either you stop progress, like what's the Amish, right? Like you reject all new technologies and maintain kind of a status quo, or you accept that the future is change and growth, and you have to figure out that balance.
But I feel like in the last few years, there has definitely been a crazy improvement.
It was exponential.
So I mean, for the long, I mean, I at least growing up, maybe like the 2010s and 2000s and stuff like that. Like, I feel like technology did not advance that much, right? We just had like thinner screen monitors.
So what happened during our lifespans, like until now, essentially all this growth has been in computers. And so I was watching this video on making essentially the chips that go into GPUs.
Yeah.
And that technology is fucking magic. It's like
insane.
legit.
It's insane.
Like they're talking about nanometers. And so like, for example, the silicon, it has to be one crystal. And so they start with literally a single crystal and they pull it out until it's this giant thing of one solid crystal. And they select. Anyways, the point is, it's like magic.
I've seen videos. Yeah.
So it's like
it's crazy.
That is what was made in our lifetimes. It's just we don't necessarily see that. What we see is our phone. And so I say because a lot of this, the improvements that we've seen.
The phone is the crazy improvement on its own, right? You have a fucking computer.
And also AI. What we've seen in our lifetime is the birth of AI. But what AI will lead to is this exponential growth in other industries, because AI can actually influence physical reality, or AI plus robotics, right? And so we're heading towards this world where it's like all these amazing magical improvements have been fixated or specialized into one section, which is computing. And so the world of bits, right? And now we're going to be moving to the world of like atoms. And that's happening soon, right? That's like, again, so the other thing that's important to realize that these are all exponential. And so each year that goes by, you like 2x your output, and this compounds. And what's really cool is that like all these exponentials are hitting this kind of exponential singularity state at the same time. So healthcare, robotics, space travel.
Tesla, Elon Musk is saying, in 10 years or something like that, no one's gonna have to work or anything like that. It's gonna be all like robots. But I don't know. I feel like if it's all going, if everything's improving exponentially, then eventually there's gonna be at some point either something kills us, or we create another fucking matrix. And
well, this is the argument for
like full dive experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is why some people believe in the simulation theory, because that's the end state, that you abstract physical reality out and you live in a digital world.
Do you believe in that? I believe in that.
I think in some senses, yes, I do believe in it. Like in the Hindu religion, they believe in that everything is like a dance, right?
Oh, I thought like reincarnation, no?
They do believe in reincarnation, but their idea is that like physical reality is a dance to please Brahma or Ra, whatever. I don't know the actual terms. But the point is like, it essentially is very similar to saying the world is a simulation. That we're living in this real world, but this real world isn't the real world. It's like a layer on top of the deeper reality. So that's what they've always believed, thousands of years. And I think in that sense, it probably is true. Like if I just think about what, like the sounds I'm hearing, things I'm feeling, right? These things are just like signals going to my brain. So my brain, like the color of this tree is not actually green. It's like my brain is making it green.
Perceives it as green, yeah.
And so in a certain sense, it is a simulation. It's simulation it's like a shared simulation that we're all sharing, But if I was a bee, it's a different simulation. And you take that farther, it's like, well.
Oh no, I mean, I don't. I mean, yes, we perceive everything on our own, and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, if you look at things from like in a quantum mechanic sort of world, right? Then you're essentially being able to see like the code that governs the universe, and that's where things get weird. And I think to the point where it's like the whole thing where have you seen like the test where it's like, oh, if you put an observer there, then the atoms split.
Let's say observer effect, yeah.
Yeah, but that's it's been debunked. It's bullshit. It's mostly just because they were testing it that also caused the reaction with the atoms, which caused it to react in a specific way or whatever. But it's not like this whole like simulation thing, blah blah blah. But I still think that we do live in a simulation, specifically because of like the Big Bang, right? Big Bang theory and just thinking of like how we want to create worlds essentially right now. If everything is going up exponentially, 2xing every year, then in fucking 50 years, we may be able to create something exactly like
singularity. That's the idea of this, where the up becomes straight up. And so that it's not about improvement anymore. It's that it's infinite improvement instantaneously. And this is what we're heading towards in all technologies. And so everything we could ever want would be possible, which is why someone like Elon Musk says, well, in 20 years, you won't have to work. You can like poof food into reality. You can like, there's a series called The Culture. And the idea in The Culture is this idea where it's like,
what is it on?
It's a book series, and essentially it's like in the it's a book series, yeah, and it's in the far future, and there's many awesome things in it. But one of the things in it is that they essentially have super intelligent AIs, and they have robots who can do everything. And essentially, in this world, no one has to work. What they do is they choose what they want to spend their time doing. So each of these books kind of follows the path of like one individual in this time span. One of them is about this guy that is called the player of games. Essentially, he spends his entire life wanting to be the master, the best game player of all time. And so that's his pursuit from his life.
I mean, isn't that like, I feel like there's so many different animes. That's fucking...
But the point is, like, you can do anything you want. And that's, I think, if we can create food out of nothingness and we can live on any planet, like one thing in that book is they create their own planets because there's no limitation to resources. The universe has infinite resources, right? Well, not infinite, but near infinite resources. But going back to what we're saying, it's like, I think it is possible that we hit this world. I think what's more scary is more, what does that do to the human psyche? What does it do to the human social hierarchy? These things, like, I think that it's not really a question of if this is going to happen. It's more of like a when. As long as things continue down, like, we will have this ultimate abundance. But I'm more worried about, like, okay, well, if someone gets that ultimate abundance before another person, is that person just going to like take over the world or something? You know, like, that's more my concern, less than like, is this going to happen? Same thing about, we're talking about healthcare technology, like that. I assume that was assuming everyone gets access to this longevity healthcare at the same time. But more realistically, people like Jeff Bezos will get it within the next 5-10 years, and they will live to be 1,000, and we will get small drip feeds of this, and we will live to be like 150 and then 200, right? And so in that time span, the differences in lifetimes, like, what does that do? You know, like, they become like gods among men, you know?
Well, for sure, there would probably be someone that takes advantage and tries to profit from it, like they always do, even with just regular medicines that we have right now for
Exactly
everything, the pharma bros and all that.
And again, this is more of like a what if, but more of like when. When is this going to happen? When is this growth going to happen? You know.
But anyways, I think we're probably running up on time, right?
So crypto is good stuff.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap things up with the whole medicinal stuff that and the rich people getting this longevity stuff. CZ is definitely on TRT.
See those guns he's got?
If you see his picture with Michael Saylor, he's all jacked up now. When he was scrawny and fat before.
TRT though, like, I've never taken it, but I know people that have, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But I don't know enough about it to. So
well, it's not bad, but I have taken it actually for a little bit. I just tried it out before once. I'm fucking natty right now, But when I get older, probably like 40, 45, I am planning on taking it. It depends on like how low my T levels are. Right now, they're pretty fucking good for natural. But you want to essentially take it as late as possible because even though it has rejuvenating effects, there's also, especially if you overdo it, there's also the bad side where testosterone has basically been linked to shorter lifespans. So if you have higher testosterone, usually you're going to die quicker. I don't know what it is with that. Most likely some sort of cardiovascular event or things. But yeah, so it is healthy if you take it, you know, and you live a healthy lifestyle. But at the same time, if you take too much or if you take it and you don't live a healthy lifestyle, then it can shorten. It's like a double-edged blade.
You still have to go to the gym though, right? So CZ, if you're juicing, you're still going to the gym every day?
Well, I mean, if you take certain levels of testosterone, you can definitely like get fitter without really doing that much cardio or without doing that much lifting, to be honest. But yes, it will amplify all of your physical fitness effects.
Okay, I mean, if CZ is getting up, going to the gym, you know, lifting weights every day, and he's doing TRT, okay, you know, he's CZ, he's done enough in his life, he can go enjoy himself and look good.
No, fuck that.
No, I'm joking.
But yeah. All right. Well, anyways, I think we're definitely over like an hour or whatever. So let's cut this from here. But thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace, brother.